Near the door.
All right, welcome everybody. My name's Appy Dargio, if you don't know me. John August is our president. We have a panel here today to discuss Zoe's Law number 2. Ian, were you going to be a part of this panel? Because you did a lot of talking about it.
If I'm being invited, I will, yes.
Yes, come on.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4. Ricky, you're supposed to be part of the panel.
Me?
Yeah. No, you can stay there.
If someone else can do the job better than me, they're welcome because of my hearing.
All right, because of your hearing. All right, so on the panel, let me introduce the panel members. We have Margaret Kirkby, who is with the Women's Abortion Action Group campaign and a member of the Humanist Society. You can applause. Applaud. We have Faye Love. You can see that over there. I'm not sitting there. Faye Love, who's a member of the committee of the Humanist Society. I'm not sure what her experience is, but we'll soon find out. She's a person, a woman. We have, I've introduced John. Brian Edwards, who's on the committee of the Humanist Society and is very knowledgeable on a lot of subjects. And we are very, very, very happy that he's here today because he recently broke ribs, and 4 ribs, and did something to his arm.
Arm's okay.
Arm's okay. And so we weren't sure he'd be here because he's a panel member. And on the end here is Ian Bryce, who brought us. Was it you who brought the attention of Zoe Law 2 to the committee? Yes, I remember that vividly. There you are, and so I don't know what your connection is with it, except that you started talking about it a lot. And then it was Murray. Did we lose Murray?
Murray's over here.
Murray, who gave up his January talk to allow for us to talk about Zoe's Law number 2, and that's why I made the mistake and put that he was leading this, and he's not. Okay, so put your hands together for everybody. Now this is the process. We run a very...
I'd like to add one thing up there, that it was from the Humanist Society that reform for abortion laws started. Back in 1966-69 we had the first meeting, and it came from Mother Humanist Society.
Yes, and Vicky was going to be on the panel, but because she's having trouble with her hearing, she's not on it, and she was kind enough to bring in as a member Margaret Kirkby. Right, now this is the procedure. We run a very, very civilized group. You, at the end, you don't interrupt when the panel's speaking. At the end, I'll open the meeting to questions and clarifications and things like that. So I hope you've got a pen and paper. Otherwise, we'll never finish. And the panel will speak for 3/4 of an hour. If they need to speak longer, I'll ask your permission to extend it a bit, because we finish by 6 when we serve food for you. Please stay for that. A small donation of $3 to $5 would be appreciated. We have chicken and salami and cheese and salad. Now, so I'll take everybody's name down who puts their hand up when I open the floor to the group. You can ask questions, you can make statements, you can ask for clarifications, and then That's it. But if you don't do it properly, you'll be asked to leave. Okay? So here we go. Let us begin. I think it's up to you who you ask to go first. John.
Oh, I'm making that decision. All right, well, can you
Well,
guys...
I think Margaret Kirkby is the one who is the most experienced
Okay.
in the field.
All right, now you're saying 45 minutes, so with what, 5 people here, that's roughly 8 minutes each, is that correct?
I think maybe Margaret and Ian may need to have a little bit longer.
I was unaware of the time limit, and I have timed my talk at 11 to 12 minutes.
Sounds good.
How long?
11 to 12 minutes.
Well, I'll be
And
back.
I was unaware of
Well,
the
I'll be
time
back
limit.
5 minutes anyway, so that
All right, well, let's open with Margaret
We can,
and see
I'm
how
the
we go.
chairperson, but I'm sure we can make an
Well,
allowance.
I think I'll make a general announcement that I'm broadly supportive of Zoe's Law 2, and we'll see how things go as the meeting progresses. It's something I would like to speak about with the media, but I suppose I realised on committee that to do that would be a bit controversial. So there's time for consultation before I go down that path.
What do you want?
What is Zoe's Law 2? Sorry,
It will be explained to you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay, well, I suppose I did send it out an email with some links to what it was about. But anyway, Margaret, perhaps you'd like to...
Okay, well, thanks. I didn't realise I was going to end up with me speaking first.
Would you like me to speak first?
No, it's been enough. I think we should just get started so that people can start to get their thoughts and head around it. Zoe's Law is an amendment to the New South Wales Crimes Act of 1900. I can't remember the exact section, but the sections that relate to abortion are sections 82, 83 and 84 of the New South Wales Crimes Act 1900. And they are almost word for word exactly the same as the 1861 UK Act called Offences Against the Person Act. So that's what you've got to get in your mind. We're talking about a piece of legislation that dates back actually to 1861 and the mores of it. Now, abortion laws in New South Wales are interpreted by several cases, so there's liberal interpretations of those provisions, 82, 83, well, mainly 82, from various cases. Now, this one, it is being called Zoe's Law. I have a very huge issue about it being called Zoe's Law. The issue of personhood of the fetus and what is life and when does life begin is actually nothing that the Humanist Society can tell all its members what they should think. It's nothing that I, as a member in Women's Abortion Action Campaign, can say to activists who get involved in WAC. I can't tell people what they should think about that broad philosophical issue of what is life and when does life begin, because everybody has to decide that in their life anyway, male, female, no matter what their politics. And this law, though, is defining that a fetus is a person from 20 weeks of pregnancy, and if it's not able to definitely be determined that it is actually a 20 weeks gestation, then if the fetal products weighed 400 grams, then it is being defined by this law as being a person. And the key reason that's being done is because the notion of a charge of grievous bodily harm to a fetus being made against somebody who caused the death of a fetus. I don't know whether everybody knows the background to this case, but basically there was a couple who had a wanted pregnancy on the Central Coast. The woman was involved in a car accident, not her doing it all. The car driver was at fault. And the fetus, which they named Zoe, that's the word where the word Zoe comes from. And the fetus died this couple have felt aggrieved because there were no charges laid against the driver of the car that caused the accident. The reason that I do not believe that it's appropriate for us in this room to keep calling this law Zoe's Law is because we're members of the public. We do not have a relationship with that fetus. That fetus belongs to that couple and they feel very strongly about it. I feel that I would be disrespectful to that fetus in particular, but to the couple, because that's their view of it. And the other issue about this law is all laws in this state should be developed because there's a unit, they're there for everybody. But this law has actually been developed because of the pressure from that family. And it's going to have an impact on everybody, but not everybody wanted it. It's something that's been engineered by a cohort of anti-abortion politicians in New South Wales Parliament, and it's going to have an impact on the lives of other women in the future. I don't know whether everybody in the Humanist Society is aware, but in the United States, these laws are called personhood of the fetus. And there's actually even an anti-abortion organisation in the United States called Personhood. And part of their campaign is to have laws brought in various states that define the personhood of the fetus from earlier and earlier stages of pregnancy. And then the impact of that is that there are restrictions on access to abortion. I haven't had time to research, but I understand there's at least 16 states in the United States that have a personhood of the fetus law. And wherever you see these personhood of the fetus laws, there are then restrictions on access to abortion because they get twisted around. Even the ones in the United States that are different to this one in New South Wales, they've ended up resulting in things like there are cases where women who were pregnant in the advanced stages fell down the stairs in their home just while they were doing their housework, and the fetus died as a result of that fall, or it was at risk, so the women were forcibly put into hospital. But if the fetus died, they are now doing time in jail. It's not only in the United States, but also many of the Latin American and Caribbean states have gone down the track of this form of anti-abortion laws. The family from the Central Coast who wanted this law brought in have talked about it being well designed. The wording is allegedly such that a woman herself can't be charged. But the problem with these sort of laws, and we all know this happens, once a law comes in, then there can be an amendment later on, or this or that interpretation. You can't control what is going to happen to this law. At the moment, it's got through the upper house, the lower house, and now it has to go in February to the lower house. To the upper house. And if it goes through the upper house, then it becomes law in this state. And the other things that need to be looked at, as well as the philosophical, political, and moral sort of issues around it, is that about what's going on with anti-abortion forces. A version of this law was actually introduced by Fred Nile a couple of years ago. That's why Effie was announcing this as version number 2. The reason it didn't get very far actually was because Fred Nile is seen as a bit of he's a person who puts forward anti-abortion bills, but he doesn't really get into the heavy politicking and lobbying and everything to get it voted on. And now we've got an Attorney General, Greg Smith, who for a long time, approximately 30 years, was the Secretary of the New South Wales Right to Life Association. And he is using his power as the Attorney General to ensure that bills like this are going to get through. And I'm sure that he was involved behind the scenes or giving advice somewhere along the lines about the fact that have Fred Knight